Hey, how's it going? This is Cal from Two Dudes and Killer Tunes, and just actually we've been recording quite a bit lately and taking a little break, so actually I was just going to put together a little video. Unfortunately, Neil couldn't make it today, but we do have him right here in this picture. It's funny because this picture's been in every show, every shot, right behind Neil usually. So go back and check it out. And right now I'm talking to all of our tens of listeners. But go back and look, and you'll see it's been all over. But what it is, it's actually a picture of Neil dressed up as Danny DeVito for Halloween. He's got his Bud Light over there and his spitter, so he's here in spirit. But anyway. The reason I wanted to put this video together is because I've been thinking about something since episode 4, when we had Ryan Maxey on with us. And he talked about something, when he goes to, hunting or fishing or wherever him and his, friends go to get away from their families. And you have a lot of downtime. And the one thing they always talk about is kind of what I'm going to call the Forever 5. And this is, the 5 bands, solo artists, whatever, that, you're on a deserted island, whatever, you're stranded, wherever, but you get to have these 5. And you get the entire catalog. So I'm going to say, vinyl, CD, tape, however you like to consume. But, and all, the top 5. And, he named off some and Neil named some off. And, I've seriously been thinking about it ever since that episode. So, I'm going to devote some time to that. And kind of go through my top 5 as it stands here today. I'm actually drinking a Happy Dad seltzer. Son-in-law brought that over. And apparently I love bells and shorts because I look at every episode and that's usually what's sitting in front of me. But anyway, let's get to it. So, no particular order. And, I'm just going to start with Smashing Pumpkins, right? I mean, we talked about them enough on the show. And, so I'm looking at it from, I get the entire catalog. So all the way from Gish. I used to be a fan when... Billy Corgan had long hair. And I remember telling my daughter Kennedy that, who was on episode 6. And one year for Christmas, she painted that picture of Smashing Pumpkins there, and it's when Corgan had the long hair. So she remembered. And, and I also tie it back to what we do on this show, which is really talk about live music. And, Pumpkins has been one of the bands I've probably seen, I would say, at least 10 times now. And going again in September on the 6th. So still got to work out those credentials to see how we can get in there and talk to them a bit. But, more to come on that. Yeah, right. Okay. So, but, you start going through it. Gish, Siamese Dream. It's just some of the classics. Melancholy. Adore. They just came out with the 3-disc opera. Autumn, ATUM, but I love it. And Hooray is amazing on it. And the other thing is now that we get the full catalog, you go back, and the one song I came across by them too, and here's the Killer Tunes part, is Crawl. And it's Billy Corgan playing the acoustic guitar and Jimmy Chamberlain on like a djembe drum. And it's really good. And that'd be amazing if they started playing that live. But, so it's not only, the full catalog, these songs that I've loved, growing up, but it's also, the concerts you've been to. And, think about the time when I saw them at Lollapalooza and the Beastie Boys were there, right? And the Beasties didn't make the list. And, it was a tough, they were, kind of like the last out when you're talking about the March Madness tournament, right? So, but, or when, seeing them in Breslin, front row center, just locked in, and, that was during the Siamese Dream tour, or seeing them at the State Theater, which is the Fillmore in downtown now. So, Moving on. The next one I'm going to say is I'm going to go kind of old school. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, which is kind of a weird one, but you know what? Just as far as the musicians, the harmonies, again, the catalog's pretty vast when you really break it down. Crosby on Almost Cut My Hair, Ohio. When you bring in some of the Neil Young stuff that they do together with them. And, I've seen them a couple of times, actually once with just Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And it was funny because it was at Pine Knob, and everyone in Michigan knows Pine Knob. Everyone who's not in Michigan, just imagine your outdoor theater with, the pavilion and then the hill. And it was a small crowd, and I don't know if it was done on purpose or what, but they only sold pavilion seats. And the hill was closed, and they kind of had, some guards every so often, and, it's an older crowd, whatever. And, they played like 3 hours. There was like no opener, but they played 2 full sets, and there was like a good, 20-minute break or so. And it was funny because all the guards went away, and you saw like all these like 50, 60, year old people going up in the hill, and they're all just, smoking pot, getting high. And then right when they came back out, they just went back to their seats and put on a great show. But that was without Young. Now, we went to Palace of Auburn Hills, and this was me and my brother Paul. He was episode 3. Neil, my dad, who hasn't been on yet, but we don't know if he'll make it or not, and our buddy Johnny V, who I used to work with. And it was at the Palace, and it's the only time I've seen all 4 of them together, CSNY. And just really great show, our main floor. And I remember Johnny V singing, and this old guy got all fired up at him, and it was during Helpless. And, it was just too funny. Well, by the end, we're leaving, and, we're walking out, and we're standing like at this railing to catch the last song, and the security guard goes to throw us out, and the old man gets all hot and bothered, and gets all fired up. So we always say that he got us thrown out of there, but he'll always deny it. But CSNY, it's just the music. You got Stills. Obviously Crosby, Graham, and then Graham Nash, and then Neil Young. So I've always been a huge Neil Young fan. I've seen him numerous times. So moving on, number 3 on my Forever 5. So, like I said, it's been tough, and I'm going to have to go with Wilco. And we've talked about Wilco a bit on the show now. It all started out somehow listening to Uncle Tupelo. And then, Tweety made Wilco. You had Jay Farr, do Sunvolt, which some new artwork up there. And anyway, somehow I don't even really trace it back, but I do remember Echon, who's going to be on our show coming up on the 18th of July. He was super into him too, and Wilco is based out of Chicago, but they had some great albums. AM, Passenger Side, song on that. You had, Summer Teeth, which is just the album that really kind of put him on the map. Yankee, Foxtrot Hotel. Probably said it wrong because I always do, but we all know what I'm talking about if you're a fan. The other thing I love about this Forever 5 and the full catalog is you also get that Mermaid Avenue, those 2 volumes, and I think there might even be a 3rd now, but it's tough for me to keep up. It's a lot of times a young man's game. But anyway, Mermaid Avenue, those are the ones where it was old Woody Guthrie lyrics that his family came across, and it ended up where they went to, Jeff Tweedy and Wilco and Billy Bragg. And they put music around these lyrics and made these 2 albums that I know of, but I think there's a 3rd, like I said. And absolutely amazing. California Stars. That is a killer tune by Wilco. Hoodoo Voodoo. Airline to Heaven. You know, like I said, just so many songs and put on such a great live show. Typically, I mean, I haven't seen them in a while, but it's always like 5 to 7 like people on stage, a lot of musicians, a lot of great music, a lot of great lyrics. So that is my number 3. Well, it's down to the final 2. So I'm going to bring up, you know, I brought up Beasties. They didn't make the list. But, you know, like I said, when I think about some of these other live shows, it brings me back to them, you know. Another one didn't make it over there. They're not in the shot right now, but Guns N' Roses. Yeah, of course you love them, but that's definitely not going to make the top 5. You know, who else? There's Zeppelin. I was never huge, you know, I like Zeppelin, but, you know, it's not something that I needed to have, you know, on this deserted island. Doors was one that was really there. They were another one, like the Beasties, right towards the end. And I might kick myself for that one, but who knows? So when it happens, we'll cross that bridge when it comes, right? So, bringing up the final 2, I have Ben Harper. I mean, I can't say it enough. The guy puts on an amazing show. The way that he, you know, brings the crowd with him. You know, he sits down and just jams on that guitar, and just gets everyone all fired up, and then brings them right down with the acoustic. Ground on Down is always one that just gets me going, you know, where it gets you fired up for the show and just sets the tone. You know, we talk about covers on Two Dudes, and he's got a great one. You know, I mentioned one, which is he does Faded and then does Whole Lotta Love as a medley, but he also does Sexual Healing by Marvin Gaye, does a great version of that. And, you know, talking about live shows, you know, thinking about it, I'm going to see him October 10th with Episode 4 guest, who is kind of the creator, I'm going to say, or founder, at least in my world, of the Forever 5, Ryan Maxey. So that'll be cool. Day after his birthday, October 10th. But, you know, I remember seeing Ben Harper. He opened up. He was actually the first opener, and then Freddie Jones, and then Dave Matthews. That was at Pine Knob. That was a really good show. Just a lot of jam bands, you know, going, and a lot of dancing. You know, the one that really sticks out, though, we talked about it with Paul and Neil, was San Diego. And we were out there for vacation. It just worked out that Ben Harper was there, and we got tickets. My Uncle Steve and Aunt Kelly went with us. It was super cool. R.I.P. Uncle Steve. But it was a lot of fun. And he had never seen Ben Harper, and I asked him what he thought about it. And he's like, I really loved it when he was jamming. He goes, but, you know, when he slowed it down, and, you know, he had never heard of me. And he goes, it kind of reminded me of Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, which made me laugh because they're both on my list. So, but shout out to Uncle Steve and Aunt Kelly on that one. Actually, and that was me, Paul, Dario, and Neil with Uncle Steve and Aunt Kelly. And, yeah, Dario was on Paul Detail that night, if we remember. So that's going to bring us to my number 1 of the Forever 5. So, God, it was tough. It was really tough. Because, God, there's so much out there. And then, you know, then it's like you think about the full catalogs. And so it's Lou Reed. It's Lou Reed. I'm just going to get it out there. And that's why I wore the Velvet Underground shirt. It's no coincidence, you know, representing a couple on the list here. But anyway, Lou Reed, and I'm going to tack on the Velvet Underground stuff because, I mean, no matter what, somewhere in that catalog, you're going to find Lou Reed singing all those songs. So, you know, but just thinking back, especially the live shows with him, and, you know, there's a great song that the Killers do, I think called Tranquilize, where Lou Reed sings on it with them. I mean, love or hate, Killers or Lou Reed, I love that song. Super cool. Just seeing him live, and now he's gone, and same thing with Crosby, right? He's gone too. So that is my list. So the one thing I would like is, one, hopefully everyone tuned in. This has been fun. It's been kind of weird doing it by myself here without Neil, but I'm glad he's here in spirit. But go ahead and subscribe to our channel. But I also want to see who your Forever 5 is down there in the comments. And I'm going to probably put together a special episode with Neil and talk through some of what the feedback is, but it'd be really interesting to see. I remember back, he had mentioned REM. I think Tom Petty was thrown out there. Of course, I think Maxey might even, had Beatles or Zeppelin or someone. But really, like I said, made me think about it. And we've talked about quite a few of these. Pumpkins and Ben Harper, I'm going, which is awesome. We talked about Wilco with Lindsay and Jeff. That's, like I said then, that's the one band I want to get back out and see. It's been a while. I know Tweety's out there doing some solo stuff right now, but, just did that, a few nights at the Riviera or whatever in Chicago. Obviously, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, Lou Reed, won't be seeing them anytime soon. But, Pearl Jam, that was one I struggled with. Alice in Chains. I mean, it's just, it's tough. And, those are the ones that I kind of dropped off at the end. And, I'd say maybe a surprise is kind of Wilco, Even maybe Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. I mean, that might have surprised some people out there, but like I said, I wanted to have also a kind of a wider variety, and I struggled too, and I want to apologize to the King DMC out there, but you were one of the last ones out as well. You're represented on the wall, though. We still need to get you on that show, and we will hopefully be able to pull that together. But I'm going to leave it at that. Like I said, make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you drop it in the comments. Want to know what your Forever 5 is here on Two Dudes and Killer Tunes. And we will be back with a new episode on July 18th with our buddy Christian Chalet, who goes by the name Echan, and you will find out why he is called Echan during the episode. And then we got some other guests coming up. My son Avery will be coming up for episode 10. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you let us know your Forever 5 is. Also, just love hearing about any live shows you've seen. Again, hopefully we get this up to maybe hundreds of viewers before it's all said and done. So have a good one, and we will talk to you soon.